Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Footy and Other Sports with yours truly, Taz, and of course Sean. Here he is. Yep, looking calm as ever. Wow, where? I mean, there's only one place to start really. The Olympics are officially off. I mean, yeah. I mean, I usually summarize what we're going to talk about, but there's only one place for us to start. Yeah, I mean, literally, was it the last video that we spoke about the Olympics potentially being postponed, and that the IOC were going to give themselves a full up to a month to actually come to a decision. Literally within a day later, it's official now. They've basically postponed it until 2021. I mean, that year alone is starting to really pile up now, isn't it? What are your thoughts? I mean, it's not, your thoughts must be very similar to what we had yesterday, but it's official now. What do you say?
Well, I think, as you said, bring on 2021. We have to get rid of this year as soon as possible. Everybody's saying this is probably one of the worst years that many have experienced for years, maybe decades.
Yeah. You finished already? This is going to be a short video if that's what you're going to say.
Yeah. No, but honestly, for example, you wouldn't want to, we've elaborated on it beforehand, you wouldn't want to experience an event where sports stars won't be able to give it their all. We've seen iconic celebrations for people giving all of their energy, trying their best. And we do not want people to have an excuse that I heard a cough, I heard someone perhaps given some signs of they may have some of the symptoms of the blank virus, because we do not want to talk about it over and over.
No.
If Usain Bolt, say if he came back out of retirement, he was meant to play and compete in Tokyo, and then he just couldn't finish the finishing line because he saw someone who was coughing earlier and he just didn't want to risk his health. So you wouldn't want to have stuff like that happening, or maybe someone may actually contract it and then wouldn't be able to participate, and then therefore it would also cause a lot of issues where people would probably say whoever actually ended up winning it did not deserve it, or it may also lead to someone else stepping up, and then did that person actually earn the right to participate in the first place?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that one of the most important things is in sport or any activity that you do, you want it to be a fair contest. You want everyone to be 100% fit and healthy. Of course, I mean, and when you have team competitions, of course, you do tend to find that deep down somebody's probably thinking, well, we will stand a better chance if they don't have this person there. But in your heart of hearts, you want to beat the best to prove that you're the best, and similarly, like when so many teams might mess up in a group stages of a tournament or something and finish second, still go through, of course, but end up playing a really, really difficult side. It's very easy to just whine and cry about it and say, oh God, I can't believe we're playing them so early in the competition. Well, first and foremost, you messed up, so it's your own fault. Secondly, you've got to beat the best at some point. If you make it to the World Cup final and you don't play one of, if not the best team in the competition, it's been a really messed up competition if that's the case, So
Euro 2000, you can argue some people thought that was the case in Euro 2004. Greece was able to go through teams, and then the first game was Greece-Portugal, ended up as the host versus the underdogs, and some people perhaps complained that the best sides were eliminated early on.
Who were the best side in your opinion in 2004?
That's an interesting question, because
you said they were eliminated early on. I could argue that Portugal may have been the favourites and in their home tournament.
They were seen as one of the good teams, but you can argue France was a side that was quite strong. They beat us somehow, being 2-1 down, ending up winning 3-2. I think I think Portugal or Greece eliminated France. I would, if memory serves me right. But anyway,
I think Greece probably eliminated most teams, to be honest with you. Stopped everybody in their tracks. They had a lot of shocks, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, they're brilliant. They're probably the best example of the biggest shock, certainly in Euro Championship history. You could argue maybe even in World or European Championship history, because very, very rarely has the best side not won the whole tournament. You know, I mean, I've got very strong opinions about what I thought about Argentina's side in 2014. 2014? Yes, it was. Germany, without question, were, for me, the best side in the tournament. But, you know, it just sort of gave you an idea of just how much that FIFA really, really love players like Messi, because personally I wouldn't have even chosen him as my player of the tournament, or at least best player within the Argentinian side. I think there were probably about 3 or 4 other players that were ahead of him in his own side.
Not Higuain, though. Not Higuain. Not
Higuain. Not Higuain. I mean, but when somebody asks me who the first name I think of is, and it was Mascherano. I thought he was outstanding. You know, he was immense, and I can just remember him always being there. Yes, I mean, it's just, opinions are just very, very strange at times when it comes to who you decide is the best.
You know, Dini was also another good performer for them. The Man City defender at the time, he actually gave quite a few solid performances. Because as you're alluding to, Argentina had quite a stable backbone. It had Mascherano giving performances, Di Michelis was giving some good performances as well, and then Messi was perhaps given all the pressure in order to perform the attacking side to it, where Di Maria and Aguero probably weren't licensed to display as much talent as they could. Maybe Maradona didn't like his ex-son-in-law anymore.
Well, teams like Argentina, Portugal, Brazil, they're known as your kind of really skillful flair teams, perhaps the most of all, and on a consistent basis. But Portugal, it took them a long time, but they eventually understood we can't just try to outclass and outskill and outpower every single team on the planet. We won't win anything that way, you know. It's like I keep saying about Man City, you know, that you can't buy a Champions League title. Well, Real Madrid can, but Man City can't do it. But they very quickly realised this has to be a team effort, you know, and it was probably one of the weakest performances I've ever seen from a Portugal side in a major tournament. But at the same time, it's their most successful one because they all pull together. You know, you had players who, generally speaking, can be quite selfish and, you know, play for themselves, really, really buckling down for the team. I thought it was one of the best performances I've ever seen from Nani, for example. He was my player of the tournament in that championship.
Well, which one do you think was better, 2004 or the one that actually won 2016?
You mean it was 2016, wasn't it? Without question, in terms of bigger performances, it has to be 2004. Nothing compares to that. But
because they won 2016, though. France, the last-minute goal.
But it's a completely different kind of underdog scenario, is what I'm trying to say. Portugal, we know, have got quality pretty much throughout the whole team. Who knew about players like Karagounis or Charisteas from Greece for the Euros? You know, some of these guys might have made it outside of Greece in terms of European football, but not many people knew about them. And I think Karagounis sort of dotted himself around a few other teams after that.
Right? Milan, he went to Milan and the other side.
Yeah, he went to decent size, and I think even Charisteas got a bit of interest right after the Euros. It died down sadly afterwards, but yeah, I mean, it just gives you a rough idea. We've done our tangents, but I mean, we're basically, to summarize, we're just trying to say that you want the best to be available to you. You want the best competition. You want the best as a neutral. You want the best as a fan. And even as a competitor, you want to face the best to prove that you've beaten the best. You know, you don't want to say, well, I mean, it was always going to be us winning it when these guys don't have their strongest side. And from a player's perspective, you might say, great, because it's all about the titles, but you just get that added satisfaction when you beat the best players as well. And I think that's why it's crucial that they had to postpone the Olympics. Of course, also the Paralympics as well. That's also been postponed.
Look at the runners we've had in the past that were able, they're 100% fit, so they were able to give every last gasp of their breath. Oh, I love your cup. So like Paula Radcliffe gave every last gasp, everything she could possibly do. She had her own accident, and people are saying the energy she put in order to win defines her legacy. And if unfortunately you're so worried about even run, that's actually a very good example to bring up. Her particular marathon, you're viewed by thousands of people just so close to you. If you're worried about catching from any one individual person that may just do a quick cut, that's going to hinder your performances just there. And another person we can talk about, Big Mo. So he's another big person who also needs to run around, does a lot of running, and if it will affect his preparation, because you're talking about team management. We just see these single athletes, but it's not these athletes that just run around the park. They have a team of trainers, a team of a lot of sports scientists that work with these guys. And if these people are also injured, how on earth are they going to prepare?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not just injured, but sadly, if they're unwell or catch this horrific thing. We're just trying to avoid saying the word. But no, I mean I think that's why it was imperative that they had to make this decision, because from a logistical perspective as well, you've got to think about the fact that you're either going to have to redate a number of tickets, or you're going to have to cancel and sort of have a new balloting process for loads of tickets and things like that. I think it's obviously fairer to have a re-ticketing process, or at least give fans the option. Somebody who may have been available this summer may not be available to go next summer. At least give them the option.
Fantastic point there. You know how difficult you and a certain mutual friend, you always apply for these tickets or these ballots, and whenever you guys were able to win some, the joy that you guys had of being able to win it cannot be underrated, cannot be underestimated.
No,
imagine if that was taken away from either of us. If we had a chance to go to Tokyo 2020, a great country to go to, we would be quite upset if we weren't even given the opportunity to decide whether we would like to still have the chance to go the next year, or to surrender our tickets and to get a full refund.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there are certain events that you may never have actually have the opportunity to go to, either because it's just too expensive, because it's abroad, because it's maybe never come to your country, timings are not right. When I did the initial ballot for the 2012 Olympics, I didn't get anything at all. So when they did like a pre-release before, like a sort of a release of all the remaining tickets, my sister and I just said, look, I know they're going to do a bigger release on, more exciting events later on, but we don't know what we're going to get. So, it's crazy to say, but we just thought we want the experience. So we bought tickets to see fencing and archery. And I can tell you, it was tipping it down in archery. And when you hear the commentator just say, archery stops for nothing, and you just got high quality competition. It was absolutely fantastic. It was one of the best live sport experiences I've ever had in my life, because there are certain sports you just won't see outside of the Olympics. Would I watch archery on TV if it came on? Maybe.
You would.
Maybe. No, but I mean, for the Olympics, but maybe. But I wouldn't usually just, set aside time just to say I've got to catch up with the archery, with the Olympics archery, because it's not something that you get to see as much. That's the thing. And so I appreciate that, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for so many people, and not everybody gets the opportunity to have it, have a home Olympics. And because it's a home Olympics, home fans are given more of an opportunity to go. Of course they are. It just makes sense that, you want the loudest people in the arena to be the people who are cheering their own. But yeah,
the right people, they bought the right to have it at wherever the nation, whichever area. So we had the rights in 2012. Japan certainly have the rights to make it have a bit of a home feel, because we also have to embrace the culture. So if you're going to someone else's nation, you want to embrace the Japanese culture next year now in Tokyo. Of course, you would want to have many fans in order to get that message across. Otherwise, why would anyone want to go for the Olympics? Because you want to showcase who you are as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they're known as being, some of the most respectful, friendly people around as well. Like I said, I mean, I was very close to actually going myself, so I'm a bit disappointed not to have, been able to have gone. But it's probably retrospectively, if you didn't have tickets guaranteed, it's probably not the best time to go on a holiday somewhere like that, when it's going to be extra busy. So if I wasn't going to go in there next year, that's definitely not happening.
There's other factors I just was thinking about whilst during our conversation. For example, during the weightlifting during the 2012 Olympics, there are outside alternative sources of people that are there just not to actually compete, but to help encourage the fighters, give motivation to the competitors. So me and Taz are big wrestling fans. Mark Henry, 1996, he competed.
You're the big fan. I'm sort of the occasional watcher.
But he was there at 2012, and a lot of the competitors at the Olympics saw him as a big role model, and you cannot underestimate his availability for that particular time. So we're talking about the whole Olympics being postponed by another year. Therefore, it may affect how these competitors may not have certain influences. We can even talk about Braun Strowman. He's a wrestler who got scouted by a big powerlifter in Mark Henry. So I just wanted to just talk about that example where it's not just about the competitors, not even about the people that are directly involved with the people that are actually performing. There are also so many other alternative tangible factors that cannot be neglected.
Well, it's actually, I mean, you're absolutely right with that as well. But when I quickly just briefly go back to the competitors and just quickly add, they're all going to be a year older as well. Now, for a lot of these competitors, it could very well have been their last Olympics anyway. Now, might that extra year be a stretch too far? Because a lot of these guys are going out of, performing and training out of their minds, maybe harder than they've ever done before, to prepare for what would likely to be their last Olympics. Like Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, the 100-meter Jamaican runner, fantastic runner. I was really looking forward to seeing a battle between her and our very own Dina Asher-Smith, who's just been on fire, winning a gold medal in the World Championships. I don't remember when that. I think she's the first ever gold medalist in the World Championships from a woman, in one of those sprint events. It's incredible, really. But Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is, in her 30s now, and in athletes' terms, that's getting on a bit, unfortunately. There are some exceptions to the rule, but she might not be in this. No. He retired around the age that you expected him to. And if you want to push me, there was a woman called Merlene Ottey. I think in the about 10 years ago, she might have she competed in a 100-meter race, and she was 52.
Yeah, really.
52, yeah. So I mean, it just gives you an idea of just how old some of them Some very special athletes can go, but I just think generally speaking, with the quality of athletes these days, you know, they might not be the same level. They might not even decide to compete a year later, because their body just might not be able to handle it. They might have families already, because some of these ladies have taken time away, and even the guys as well have taken time away to build a bit of a family, and you know, it's hard for them to balance the two out. So a year could be a stretch too far for them. So I think that's the other element I wanted to point out.
And not only that, so you're talking about people that are planning, perhaps there's a possibility that they are going to retire after the Olympics. They may have already received contractual agreements in order to be part of a new profession, maybe coaching, maybe part of a new club, different sporting events. We do not know. Therefore, it may impact those future career goals that they had.
It's possible. From past experiences, generally speaking, those that retire because age has caught up with them, they're generally the ones who take some time away, and then they'll decide what they want to do. Whether some of them might actually go back and study because they want to do something in relation to sports sciences or training and things like that. Some will, some just don't really want to be involved with it anymore. Some might want to do coaching later on, but generally speaking, the ones that might say this is going to be my last Olympics or something, or have planned ahead, you know, something like that. Usually, some of the younger ones, you know, you got to remember there are still athletes that retire young because an injury's just caught up with them. You know, sometimes they think, I don't know if I'll be able to handle more than this Olympics. That's as far as I can go, and if I can do anything, brilliant. I don't think my body can handle it. So generally speaking, when they retire at a relatively respectable age, generally speaking, they don't really have anything planned ahead. I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule.
The opposite conundrum, like the U-turn version. So, for example, 2012, we had a certain swimming diver. He wasn't. You know a lot more than me. So always used to joke around about his name. So was he a college student at the time when he competed? He was a bit young.
You're thinking of Michael Phelps?
Yeah. No, Mike. You know the guy who would dive.
Oh, Tom Daley.
Tom Daley. Yeah.
Tom Daley's actually won. He's won bronzes, 2 bronzes. He's never won gold.
How old was he at 2012? He was younger. He was go uni at the time. He was going to go uni, I assumed. No?
I can't remember if it was 2012 or 2008. It was his first Olympics, and he was 14.
Yeah.
It's one of those two. I think he was 14 in 2008. I think he was 18 at 2012. Coincidentally, my family.
So the factor there you can mention is that. So I'm going to focus when he was 18. Perhaps we're speculating he was 18. Can't remember entirely. At 2012 he was 18. Just about to go university after the Olympics, and you know university tends to be more hectic than college life. So imagine an Olympic athlete was going to turn 18 by this summer and then go to 2021 Tokyo. 2021 would be in university. Now that probably affects their preparation and probably hinders their ability in order not to only perform but even to participate.
Yeah, but generally speaking, the more elite stars, they have some sort of agreement in place with the university, whether it's sort of a case of, okay, the year we're in right now, it means I'm able to actually do most, if not all, my course before the next Olympics comes around. I can say from prior experience, I went to uni with a boxer who, shall I name him? I don't know. Yep. I went to uni with a boxer, former world champ. What a legend. And he he was able to get an agreement in place with the university that basically meant that he could stretch out his qualification. He's now qualified, I believe. Sadly, he was also retired, and he's a great example of, retiring young, I guess, because it's just you've done all you can. But universities will, for the right kind of people, will come to an agreement and sort of stretch out the course if need be. So it depends, each to their own really scenarios. But it does hand to you.
I'm going to give you guys breaking news right now. It was this guy that suggested to his friend to have the name Iron as part of his nickname. Okay?
Huh? What are you talking about?
He's 53 right now. Your fellow university guy, Mr. Iron Mike Tyson. That's breaking news. That's his mate, his boxing mate. I thought I should throw that out there.
Even if I could, I wouldn't pick him as a friend. But for those of you that are curious, it was Nathan Cleverly, absolute class act, and proud to have known him and gone to uni with him, and he certainly didn't come out of the sport with anything less than class, because Pinnacle's always a world championship in that sport, so he did incredibly well about it.
Don't deny it. Iron Mike.
No, I wouldn't pick him even if I could. But it does conveniently bring us on to our next topic, which is boxing. Now, obviously, some people have been retiring and quitting because they wanted to in the past. But given the current situation at the moment, so Eddie Hearn, I think it was, wasn't it, has basically announced that a lot of boxers are likely to have to quit boxing because of what's going on. What are your thoughts on this?
It just shows, we had a conversation about how snooker was able to look after their own contestants, because they understand that while some snooker players, and in this case boxers, are able to earn a quite comfortable living, it's a dangerous sport where you put your physical well-being always at the risk. And a lot of these boxers are therefore, whilst may not be able to earn a great living in the first place, are being forced to not being able to compete in the events which could earn them and generate them a decent income while doing the sport. Well, me and Taz were just talking just before the show actually aired that a lot of boxing matches has actually been postponed. However, certain fights that are quite big, that have generated attention, are still not postponed. Like David Du Bois, that's a big fight. And it's not, sorry, not David Du Bois, I'm sorry.
What's his name? That's not his name.
Not at all, it's Daniel Du Bois, sorry.
Victor. I'm sure he'd appreciate being called Victor.
Joe Joyce, that's a big fight, but that's not been postponed. So it just shows that it's some fighters who may not have been of the same stature are still regarded as people that may not be able to generate money and are just being discarded, and they'll probably have to go for alternative career. And that's not an easy thing to do when so many people are being asked to perhaps put their employment at risk in the first place. And so the main emphasis is that it's a difficult period for boxers being forced out of their livelihood.
I can tell you now that's going to be postponed. Because it's on the 4th. It's on the 4th of April.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not the 4th of April. 11th of April at the O2, and my sister and I were supposed to be going to a gig just a couple of days prior to that, and that's been postponed until, at the very earliest, autumn time. So there's no way that the O2 is going to suddenly say, well, let's start hosting events. That's going to go, I think.
Interesting that all the May fights hasn't been postponed. Even the Dillian White fight against Povetkin. So that's actually not been postponed. So that's a really interesting dilemma. Maybe boxing is trying to be like football, trying to take it by step-by-step process, waiting for the April 30th deadline, my birthday, and then
they're trying. they're trying to cling on. I think that's the best way of putting it. They're kind of trying to cling on to the hope that, because if everybody sort of responds the same way in terms of the whole isolation thing, it gives the best chance of actually sort of being able to deal with it, and actually sort of getting sport back on track where people want it to be. But I think that's just them being very hopeful. Realistically, I think all of these are going to have to cancel. I just can't see it because, I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of people in a venue, and I think the O2 Arena can handle an awful lot of people. So I just don't see that happening, to be honest with you. And I think these guys who we at least know, for boxing fans, they'll know who Dubois is, they'll know who Dylan White is, they'll know who Joe Joyce is. Well, I think Joe Joyce would probably be someone that, Olympic fans know more, conveniently enough, because I think he was a gold medalist as well. But like many, he's done the switch to professional fighting. But I think it's just not sensible or feasible. I just think it's a matter of time before all of these are cancelled. But obviously, these are names that we've heard of. There are plenty of names that we just don't know, and those are the guys who are sadly going to have to quit, because unless you're getting promotion deals and things like that, most of these fighters are getting a payday when their fight happens, I think, as far as I'm aware. If anybody out there, of course, guys, just going to say as well, please feel free to comment and, say whatever you want to us. But basically,
it's a very tough profession to earn a living. I'll give you an I'll give you a great example of a competitor, very famous competitor now, but just perhaps just less than 10 years ago, he was a so-called nobody, Conor McGregor. He was actually reliant on his wife, who I think she was a practicing nurse. She was the one with getting the income while he was training and a good boxer, but he never had the opportunity. So this shows how much of an impact that we may not be able to see so many potential future stars because of this predicament.
It's very possible, yeah. I mean, but the thing is, we've got to remember that the up-and-coming stars are either having to choose between dedicating their lives completely to boxing, or trying to mix a bit of a work life with boxing and treating boxing almost as a bit of a hobby. And if I'm good at it, if I improve, then maybe I'll take it up professionally and seriously. But most of them, can't afford to do that, and it's really, really a shame that, like you said, there might be fighters that for the next year or so their progression is going to be hampered, or we may never even see them because they just don't have the opportunity to. They don't have the finances to do this, and they're going to have to find another job, which is a crying shame. But ultimately, first and foremost, we need to make sure that everyone's putting their health and their safety first. So it could just be a delay, and we may still see these guys, but further down the road than we were expecting to. That's probably it.
Let's try to keep people from the doom and gloom. Let me give you a positive, perhaps a positive that may come from this postponement. So most casual fans, we just want the one British dream boxing fight. However, Joshua has been forced to fight the mandatory fighter who it's not bad, but we just want the dream fight. It's been delayed for so long because of the Ruiz incident and the draw between Wilder in the first place and Fury. The postponement might mean that let's just thinking of wishful thinking that the Boxing Federation will understand that Fury's age is winding down, and they could probably come up with an easy excuse that the whole postponement and the whole global pandemic has just led to the fact that we want the big fight now. We want the big fight, and just to regrow boxing, the rebirth of boxing from all of the postponements that could potentially happen. So that's probably one of the positives. And I know we all know who you prefer out of Fury and AJ. It would be
Yeah,
a fantastic fight.
I do agree. I do think it will be a brilliant fight. I don't like Fury though. I think I was just urging Wilder from afar to find a way to win it. I think it would have been an awesome fight between him and AJ. But I just think that's just a credit to all three of them. They're all really, really good fighters, and I think he would have got a really good fight regardless. And it just also sort of showed, when AJ just wasn't at the races against Ruiz. When he lost the title to begin with. Yeah, I love AJ, but when he lost the title, but it was just a meticulous tactical masterclass when they faced off again. It was just jab, get away, jab, get away. And it was just there was only going to be one winner in that one. But
you argue, yeah, to go back to what we were talking about beforehand, like we can't just talk about the athletes that compete themselves. There was a vicious rumor that was going around before the first fight against Ruiz. AJ was viciously knocked out by one of the sparring partners, and that they argued that affected his whole approach when he fought Ruiz, and whilst he did underestimate Ruiz, that apparently the knockout he suffered during sparring just moments before affected his performance, and that what I'm highlighting it because it highlights how important the preparation and the staff around you is in the first place for someone to compete. It's not, these people aren't teleporting from home to the arena. They have to go through tangible processes in order to reach the end destination.
Yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, as professionals, nobody wants to use an excuse. Like what Wilder was using as an excuse after he lost to Fury was just frankly woeful. Well, oh no, my overly expensive attire was way too heavy for me.
Did you hear about Triple H? Triple H, he actually wore something identical at WrestleMania 30. So everyone should know who Triple H is from the Attitude Era. So he complained that, okay, if Wilder uses that as an excuse, that was my excuse to lose to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. He said that as a joke. Because he had the golden equivalent.
We're about to move on, but I'll very quickly respond to planned. You don't plan to get knocked out in boxing. If it happens, it's because you've faltered or they've just got you. Triple H is going to know the result regardless of what he's wearing. So
no, but just having a joke, like say that he was just giving banter, saying, "Oh, that was if Wilder got knocked out because of that, then that's why I lost to Daniel Bryan." And the yes movement that was pre-planned to take away the end of the streak would have never happened. It wouldn't.
Yes. Well, we will move on now. How do we keep dragging this? Good Lord. All right, we're going to briefly touch on one bit of football news. I'm sure you wanted to take the reins on that one. Go for it.
So, there's been many questions about a certain manager. Is he the special one anymore? Well, whilst his football performances and his football contributions may be questioned, there's no doubt he has shown to be the special one, in which yesterday he was recorded of being one of the celebrities that would still go to the vulnerable people, wearing his PPE clothing and giving donations, food and other equipment that is necessary for these people that may not be able to travel to shops to gain important certain groceries. So I wanted to give Mourinho a lot of props for being able to do that in the first place. Let's not forget, he's not exactly a young guy anymore. He's in his 50s, not a young guy. If he contracts the virus, he would be vulnerable. So it's a very good sign to see how football been a powerful source of how society should work in trying to help the vulnerable people in society. There's been still reports of people, youngsters, bugs, mistreating the elderly. So it's refreshing to see a big celebrity star that does not need to do this. He doesn't need to do this at all, but he is doing it because it's the right thing to do, and he is the special one.
I call him maybe the caring or thoughtful. I wouldn't call him the special one anymore. I don't think he merits that title anymore. But yes, no, I mean, obviously, any help that's being provided is hugely important right now, because there are people who are in a better position. But at the same time, you know, we are being told to stay at home. So, you know, people got to find some way of helping from afar. I think that's also important to do as well. But you've mentioned a lot of wrestling already today, but
I've got one bit of news. You know, we talk about speculations, rumors, transfers. So there's a person I know who supports Brentford, a documentary filmmaker called Shawnee Boudoir. So he actually confirmed that Brentford FC.
Is that just you? Just it's a persona of yours, isn't it?
I know. Shawnee Boudoir. Shawnee Boudoir. He's actually a filmmaker. He's a big fan. He's sent me a message. It's on WhatsApp.
So stop putting the phone in front of the screen.
So Lewis, Brentford have actually signed a player. Despite this pandemic, they've actually signed a player called Lewis, and the manager Thomas Frank has said Lewis is a player who we've had our eye on since yesterday. He has a top attitude and work rate.
Since yesterday.
This is what he's actually said.
24-hour signing.
Yeah.
With
and signing actually happened. This is interesting. And Shawnee Boudoir, the filmmaker, has confirmed that information to me. And he also confirmed, you know, we were talking about Formula One virtual racing. Brentford and St Mirren of Scotland, they actually had a FIFA football match against each other. Quite extraordinary. So this is insider information from a Brentford membership fan. So it's interesting how some clubs are trying to make the most of it. And this is why I really liked how we spoke about the Formula One virtual racing tournament in the first place, because it's a great initiative to get people together, just like this whole Skype, YouTube extravaganza we're doing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Extravaganza, I wouldn't call it that. Yeah. I can't really add to that, to be honest with you. But yeah, we were gonna. You wanted to discuss a bit more about WWE and what's going on with that.
So, last night was another epic weekly televised show that has never had an excuse or a reason to not air. Even when the snow blizzard happened after Royal Rumble, I believe 2015, they were still able to host the show. So Monday Night Raw happened last night in an empty arena at the training facility called the Performance Center. They had quite a few interesting spots. We're going to go on about it after. I think Tad had a particular interesting match he liked. No? Alex?
I have none, thank you. None at all.
Right, Alexander Black. So we had. We also had
Alistair Black, not Alexander Black.
I did that. Oh my goodness!
Wow, the so-called fan is rubbish.
The reason why I did that about Alistair Black is because
he's so obsessed with trying to wind me up. He messed it up himself. Love it.
You know, so Alistair Black basically, he actually fought. Monday Night Raw, he fought something called a jobber. So someone that's not really contracted to WWE as a permanent competitor. So the interesting thing about that is because before the show went on last night, a big competitor that I referenced earlier called Braun Strowman, He's an ex-Intercontinental champion, fought in multiple World Championship matches and not won any, but he's a big star. He's alluded to the fact that he stated actually in Twitter that he's not actually being paid at this moment because he's not competing. And this is actually a very good big point to elaborate on in the first place. It shows that if you watch wrestling, you've noticed that whilst it's been an empty arena, a lot of the wrestlers aren't competing and they tend to show previous matches from a previous event. So last night they showed Royal Rumble 2015, an epic triple threat between Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar and John Cena. And that timing is being used because they cannot bring all the competitors, health reasons. But the reason, if they can't bring competitors, it shows that wrestlers will not get paid, and that's the situation that some wrestlers are going through right now. And it shows a big factor why they may have to go through to WrestleMania in the first place. They may have had paid some of the part-timers like Brock Lesnar, like The Undertaker, like Goldberg, and they want to get the money back from it. Maybe, but it shows how Vince McMahon is with his competitors, and he's refusing to support them, unlike the snooker situation, unlike the football situation. And it just shows Vince McMahon's mindset and perhaps why so many people like AEW. I would actually love to see if AEW follow a similar contractual setup.
Well, I mean, you could argue as well that even a lot of cafes and coffee shops and places like that in the UK, for example, they're treating their staff a little bit better. At least, I mean, I appreciate that they're trying to find some way of still giving them some sort of income, because obviously, you know, coffee shops, I think, are now officially also closed, aren't they? You're now restricted to just grocery shopping and pharmacies and things like that. But the fact that a business like WWE that's been raking it in, well, I think it has, raking it in for so long, is only paying their stars, you know, even the bigger stars, when they're actually present, is quite damning, really, isn't it? And it's not really a good reflection on them, really. But well, I mean, I haven't got the highest admiration for WWE and Vince McMahon, so I mean, I'm not really going to sit here and pretend like I'm going to defend them. So I'm not surprised in a weird way. Right. All I'll say is I think that was a pretty decent point to actually sort of conclude. You haven't got any other final quick points, have you, or are you happy for the moment?
No, I think so.
No, he always has.
I like to say a lot of people, whilst you may not like how some people portray some of the stars like Brock Lesnar, it's interesting how Drew McIntyre, who's going to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, recently gave an exclusive interview with TalkSports, and he went on to praise Brock Lesnar on how Brock Lesnar helps him for the fight, how they're working together, how to help each other with the spots they've been doing lately, where Drew McIntyre didn't only eliminate Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble, he actually took out Brock Lesnar a few weeks ago as well on Raw, and it shows how, yeah.
I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
free kicks to the mush. Oh, it's beautiful.
The Claymore.
Yeah,
I love it. And it's fantastic, and it shows, it's one of the things people perhaps don't always realize about Brock Lesnar, how he has to portray a monster. He has to portray a selfish guy. That's part of his character, but there's a good side of him as well, that obviously business orientated, and he gets treated in order. And if you're being offered money, of course you're going to go for that route. CM Punk always says that as well, despite hating part-timers. Anyway, it just shows a good side of Brock Lesnar, but how he's actually trying to help sports stars. But you can easily argue, well, I'm going to play devil's advocate, Drew McIntyre is just saying that because he's actually going to try to promote his own match himself, trying to make Brock Lesnar look good. He's actually been given the opportunity by Vince McMahon to be in the main event. So if you are not promoting or being nice about your colleagues, then you are going to get shifted, because that's how Vince McMahon operates anyway. So you can take away my notion as BS if you want.
I'm not really convinced that Brock Lesnar is a nice guy, if I'm honest. People do nice things because they want to, not because they sort of think it would look good. That's why whatever people think of John Cena or Titus O'Neil, for example, it's Titus O'Neil, isn't it? Those two, between the two of them are constantly winning the sort of who's made a difference award at the Slammies. Well, not the Slammies. Is it the Slammies? Do they have Slammies? That was at TNA.
Titus O'Neil does a lot of charitable work.
Both of them are very, very, very good at it. And the reason it's constantly those two is because deep down they want to make a difference as well. They appreciate that people aren't in the same sort of position.
I think about John Cena not always being a nice guy. There's a lot of rumors for John Cena. While he was married to his fifth wife, apparently he was having an affair with Mickie James when she was engaged to Kenny Dijkstra, and then he got fired because John Cena had the power play. So, but again, I'm sorry, I love wrestling politics.
Look, I can't sit here and condone stupid mistakes and things like that. But I'm just saying that people do make stupid mistakes and try to help out as well, right? And I don't, but there are some people that just do it because they think it looks good, and that's not what you want. You want it to come from the heart, and I think those two are really, really good at that, and they actually do genuinely care about people. You can just see kids light up when they see them, from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You can see them light up when they see them, see the kids so happy, and huge respect for people like that. But we will have to stop now. But for all of you guys out there, no more, Sean. No, cutting you off.
Say something that you can say about stupid mistakes. Like I said, David Dubois, Alexander Black instead of Alistair Black, and Daniel Dubois. Sorry, I'm doing it still. So everyone does stupid mistakes. I'm supporting you.
Okay, but we didn't have to cut the goodbye off for that, did we? We could have talked about that between us, right? Okay, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for watching. Firstly, please leave your comments below. Please tell us anything that you'd like to discuss or anything like that. Any queries you've got, we'd love to get you involved with any calls that we've got coming up, and you can see it in the corner. But please subscribe as well. Your subscriptions are awesome. We love it love to have you guys involved, so that, and please click the bell and make sure you got all notifications on, so that you can be notified when when one of our videos is about to be posted, or indeed when we go live. And just a quick preview about tomorrow as well, or at least when the next video comes out. As you're aware, there's a big discussion as to who will be inducted to the Premier League Hall of Fame, and there will be two names. So Sean and I are going to be having a bit of a discussion about that, and trying to pick our two favourites to be chosen for the Hall of Fame. We'll be giving you and as well as that, we'll be creating a Premier League current Hall of Fame team as well. So please tune into that video. We can't wait to talk about it. We'll be discussing potential nominations in a certain position as well, and from that final 11, we'll be giving you our two choices for the Hall of Fame, and hopefully that's the unanimous choice when they do indeed get released. All right, hopefully. See you later, guys. Bye, guys.